السلام عليكم. السلام عليكم. How are you, Sophia?
I'm good.
Alhamdulillah. MashaAllah. Oh, my autopilot is here. Okay, I guess I can let him in. MashaAllah. Assalamu alaikum, Omar. How's everything?
عليكم السلام.
Alhamdulillah. You guys are doing well. And who else? Hazem is here, right? He was here a second ago. Oh, he's joining. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah, it's great to see you guys. Have you back in the class. I know it's been a busy time with Eid and everything. It's pretty look forward to hearing more about how that all went for people. I know there are a few people who are not able to make it to class today. It's public school vacation week here in Massachusetts, so some people are traveling. But inshallah, hopefully we'll have a good crew of people. All right, I'm just gonna get started. We have a lot to get through today. That's not it. Here we go. Okay, and then all right, everyone can see my screen, inshallah?
Yeah.
Yes, alhamdulillah. Great. Okay. So, بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. Welcome to Find Your Qibla, class number 5. MashaAllah, we're more than halfway through this journey that we've been on. Today's topic is engaging your plan. Today we're really going to switch from the envisioning the future to looking at the present and talking about the Saturday morning project and what you guys might do to take those ideas that you've been generating about the future and what you want to do in the future and bring them down to the present. So inshallah, hopefully this will be a helpful class. Let's keep on going. So let's just do our grounding exercise just to get in the right frame of mind. Let's just do some deep breaths. So deep breath in, deep breath out. Again. So just check in with yourself, right? See how you're feeling about yourself, self-esteem wise. Right? Think of a number between 1 to 10. Give yourself a number thinking about how you're feeling right now about yourself. Another deep breath in. Out. Think about the emotions that are coming up for you, right? Whether they're, there could be some anxiety, there could be some excitement, there could be some feelings of being overwhelmed, whatever it is, just try to notice it. And one last deep breath in, deep breath out. And let's just renew our intention that we're here for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We're here for the sake of trying to discover our purpose and coming up with a plan that this work that we're doing here is extremely important because usually when we're in school and everything, we're stuck in the weeds, right? We're focused just the everyday stuff of getting assignments done. Right now, we're taking a step back from all of that, and we're taking that sort of bird's eye view of our life and trying to really come up with a plan for the future, right? So, in other words, this stuff, it's not graded, right? It's not like a regular school assignment, but in many ways, it's much more important, right? Because it can influence your future, your vision, and also obviously your college, right? Like so far what we've been talking about is more in the distant future, right? But now as we move backwards towards the Saturday morning project, we're starting to think more in the immediate future, what you're going to be doing in high school and how it might influence your ability to go into college. So let's just keep on going. Bismillah. Okay, so let's start with this as we did last week. Let's type our biggest win. I know it was Eid over this last week. So everyone can just take a minute or so. I'll set a timer. Whatever your biggest win from the last week is, type it in the chat, and then we'll do the chat storm in a moment. Timer, 60 seconds. Okay, 10 more seconds. Finish up what you're typing. Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1, chat storm. Okay, let's see what we have. Let's start with Yusuf.
I got to spend time with my family and my friends over Eid.
Nice,
And I got new shoes and clothes.
nice. MashaAllah. New shoes and clothes, very good. Alhamdulillah. Anissa.
Our mid-semester grades came out and mine were pretty okay.
MashaAllah. Yeah, that's awesome. Congratulations. Sophia.
For me, I had a fun Eid and my softball team won our games.
Oh, nice. The travel game that you were talking about last.
Well, not the travel team, but my school team, and we're like first place in like the
Mhm.
division.
Yeah. Nice and very exciting, mashallah. Hamza Hamza Salim.
All right, so I got to see my family on Eid, and I saw my baby cousin for the first time.
Ooh, mashallah. How old?
She was born on February 13th.
Cool, mashallah. That's awesome. Mabruk. Um, alhamdulillah, I think I sent this in the group, but for the last 20 years, my brother and I and another friend who I became Muslim with have been climbing this hill outside of Boston to try to, see the moon, because it's a sunnah to try to do that at the end of Ramadan. And we've never been able to see it, but this year, mashallah, it was there, very, very clear, so that was exciting. Another one, actually, I went to a wedding last night at a mansion in Newport, which was a pretty swanky venue. And they actually filmed The Great Gatsby there, or parts of The Great Gatsby there, and it felt like we were in that kind of time period. So that was pretty cool. And it was actually two of my former students who got married to each other, so that was exciting. Alma.
So I got to spend time with family members that I don't normally see during the week. And then I also qualified for the national tournament in debate.
Wow, subhanallah. That's awesome, mashallah. I look forward to learning more about that. That's really cool, mashallah. Anyone we missed? What about Hamza Bati? Are you here? Working. All right, we can move on, inshallah. All right, that's awesome. Make sure to keep on celebrating those wins, right? Like we talked about that 1-1-1 thing. Celebrate at least one win, no matter how small, every single day. Talk about one way that you're grateful every single day, right? And just be aware of these things, because otherwise we only tend to focus on the negative. That's just the human nature. We only focus on the problems we have, and we don't recognize all the good things that are going on in our life. So alhamdulillah. Let's keep on going. So logistics, to the most important thing. So this Wednesday, inshallah, we have that career workshop that I've mentioned. So that's Wednesday, April 17th. It's going to be an hour and a half, 7:30 to 9 p.m. So I know it's a slightly different time than we've been doing. It's also like someone coming from outside. It's not me leading it. He's an expert in this area of helping people envision careers. He'll take us through a whole exercise and so on. So it's an interactive thing, and it really can help you. A lot of the stuff we've been talking about is more envisioning type things, whereas this is a little bit more tangible in terms of in terms of career specifics. The other thing is this FYQ Live. I need to get a sense of how many people think that they're going to be able to make that. We don't have everyone here right now, but can you put in the chat whether you think you'll be able to come to this live in New York City? I know it's easier for some than for others, but I'm hoping as many people as possible will be able to come. So let's just see what we have in the chat. Okay, Yusuf said yes, inshallah, probably. Sophia, mashallah. Isra, probably not. Alma, no. I know you guys are the furthest away, Michigan and Florida. Possibly. That would be nice. Inshallah. I know the Massachusetts crew isn't here. Massachusetts is on vacation now, but I'm hoping that some of them can come down. And I think Abdullah's actually in Turkey right now on a hiking trip, which is pretty cool. But I think he said he could come. So it sounds like a fair number, except for maybe the people who are really far out of town, inshallah. Okay. So other things, we don't have class next Sunday. And then we have class the following week, and then we also don't have class that on May 5th, right? That's partially my own schedule. There's a wedding next week, and then I'm going to be in Texas the following Sunday, or not the following Sunday, on the 5th. But also it's good to take a little bit of a break. I think some people, it's this class is a little intense, so getting a little break from it is good, but also trying to catch up on things that maybe you haven't fully finished yet. So in other words, we have 3 more classes. We have April 28th and then May 12th. And then the final one will be that live session in New York City on the 19th. If for those people who aren't able to make it, we will definitely ideally have you attend by Zoom. The main thing we'll be doing is actually these Saturday morning projects, which we're starting to talk about now. You're going to get a chance to sort of introduce it and talk about it and talk about your vision for it going forward and so on. And by having that as a goal that hopefully it will motivate you to really make meaningful progress on getting something genuinely launched and off the ground, inshallah. Like I said, this week office hours will be at 7:30 to 9 because of the workshop. In general, going forward, I'm going to move them from the early afternoon like they were during Ramadan to 8 to 9 p.m. And then the one-on-ones, let me get that link. How do I do that?
So on the 17th, like next Wednesday, it'll be 8 to 9.
7:30 to 9, just because that is the workshop and it's hard to finish it all in an hour, so 7:30 to 9. But in future ones it would be 8 to 9. That's when it's just me. Okay, I put the link in the chat. So alhamdulillah, I've been meeting with a lot of you regularly. A few people I haven't met with as much. I think it's you'll get the most out of this class when you have these meetings on your schedule. Obviously, it's a value-added thing. Each of those meetings, is lots of people pay a fair amount of money for these one-on-one meetings. And you guys have also, invested, your parents have invested in this class, and you'll get the most out of it when you do those meetings. Also, now that we're getting into more tangible things like, your actual ikigai, your vision for the future, and now the Saturday morning project, a lot of times, what I find is when I'm talking to you, I realize that there's some sort of resource that I could direct you towards, or a person I can connect you with, and so on. And you only really get that from the one-on-ones. So you can sign up for this week, you can sign up for the following week, you can sign up for both, you can sign up for just one, but try to make sure to sign up and take advantage of that portion of the class. Any questions? Inshallah. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, so here's our quote of the week. Could I get a volunteer to read it?
I'll do it.
Okay, thank you, Hamza.
I bet. So the quote of the week is if you want to build a ship, don't drum up the men to gather wood, divide the work, and give orders. Instead, teach them to yearn for the vast and endless sea.
Nice. And this is by the Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, who wrote the Little Prince, a famous book that's in French. Okay, so how does this quote connect to what we've been talking about so far? If you want to build a ship, don't drum up the men to gather wood, divide the work, and give orders. Instead, teach them to yearn for the vast and endless sea. Anyone have ideas about how this is connected to what we've been doing so far?
So I feel like it's more of what we've been talking about. Instead of giving a static course, a static path, you got to find what you enjoy. So you got to make them feel excited to go out to the sea. You got to motivate them instead of saying, chop down this tree, build a ship, then you'll see what it's like. Make them feel excited to go out to sea so they get the motivation and then they do it.
Nice. Yep. Anyone else? Other ideas?
I think it could also be like, don't just like go through the motions to do something. You have to actually understand what you're doing and like be motivated to reach the goal.
Beautiful. Yep. So usually when people are talking about their futures or they're thinking about careers and so on, I think they follow this first one. So building a ship could be a metaphor of like, designing your future, right? So a lot of times when people think about designing their future, it's, okay, let's gather the wood, let's divide the work, let's give orders, let's come up with an exact plan of what we're going to do and where we're going to be in the future, what our career path is going to be, right? But that is one way to do it, but what he's saying here is if you teach them to yearn for the vast and endless sea, that's that magic of thinking big, right? That's that idea that when you have a big overarching vision, something huge that you're trying to accomplish in your life, and you have that as your North Star, you have that as your Qibla, right? Then you're going to figure out how to design a life that's going to get you there. Right? So rather than getting bogged down in the specifics of exactly what you're going to do, because that's very, very hard to predict, it's more think in the big picture of where you're trying to get to, right? What your qibla is, and that will help get you there, right? So this is actually Netflix has this amazing culture memo thing that they give all new employees, which sort of establishes the culture of what it's like to work at Netflix. And this is the very end of it. They use this quote at the very end of it. And this is one of the reasons why Netflix has had been one of the more successful companies in the last 15, 20 years, right? Because the specifics of what direction they're going to go with the company, it's hard to predict, right? Because societal trends are always changing. But if they have a vision of what they're trying to accomplish, right, then they hire really talented people, they're going to figure out a way to get there. So this is the same thing we can do with our own lives. Okay, so I just wanted to, since we're like more than halfway through, I want to just recap what we've done so far and then talk a little bit about where we're going. Right, so we started with accepting where you are. So this was the basic course intro. We talked about a lot of the spiritual side, like finding your Qibla in terms of the Qibla of the Akhirah, which, to be honest, is probably the single most important concept that we've covered, that complete success or true success and the only real success is in pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If we leave this world and Allah ta'ala is pleased with us and we are successful in the Day of Judgment, then we've earned eternal success, right? And eternal success is obviously, completely different and infinitely more valuable than the temporary success of this world, right? But at the same time, obviously, we want success in dunya as well. رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ, right? This is something that the Quran tells us again and again, right? So once we have our real purpose in mind and we know what our purpose is here as humans, then we can start focusing on, okay, how do we live our lives in accordance with that purpose in a way that really lights us up and so on. We did that 5 before 5 dashboard, right, where we assessed how we were doing in our health and our wealth and our free time and so on. We were mainly trying to see where we are and accepting where we are. And then we talked about embracing our identity. We talked about self-belief, the intention, mindset, and how mindset is pretty much, the most important thing. There's a reason that pretty much all coaching programs, they all focus heavily on mindset, because the way we see the world, the way we think about ourselves, the self-talk we have determines, so much about our success. And so that stuff is really foundational, and it's something that we need to keep on reminding ourselves and so on. This whole concept that I can is greater than your IQ. Your I can is greater than your IQ, right? And this can-do attitude and this, this just sort of self-belief and this, ability to deal with setbacks and just, again, if you have that qibla, right, and you know where you're trying to go, then you're going to be able to deal with the inevitable challenges along the way. And the activities we did that week was the courage and caution, the 5 things you did, even though you're scared, the 5 things you didn't do, right? And then the things you take more responsibility. If I took more responsibility for my academics, what would I do specifically? And we tracked a week of our activities, trying to look for the things which give us energy and engagement so that we can do more of those things. Then in week 3, we talked about envisioning the future, eliminating some of our dysfunctional beliefs, adopting an abundance mindset, right, where we recognize that the treasures of Allah are infinite, right, that life is not a zero-sum game. If I win, you lose, right? That's very possible to find win-win situations, right? We talked a lot about the dua and the dua as the Muslim superpower, right? And this was getting towards the end of Ramadan and trying to develop those moonshot du'as, those huge visions, right? That's really what this is about, not just having some sort of small idea or vision for your life, but having a really big moonshot vision, right? And so that's when we did the 51 list, those 51 things you want to accomplish, essentially a big time bucket list, and then, translating, and boiling those 51 ideas down into, 5 different things, and then building a dua to help get those. Last week we started with establishing a plan. We started looking at things about wealth and about money. What is it to be rich versus wealthy and that sort of thing. We looked at some stuff about solopreneurship and different ways of actually making your living. And then we got down to that level of the ikigai, right? So the ikigai, which we're going to talk about more in a second, that sort of intersection of what you're good at, what you love, what you can be paid for, and what the world needs, and tried to lead people through that, right? So we've sort of, we figured out where we were, we embraced it, right? Then we started envisioning the future, and then we started, you know, continuing to envision and get a little bit more specific. And now today, what we're going to do is we're going to look back over the Ikigai. We're going to understand this concept of personal branding and how it connects to, you know, the college application process. And then we're going to work on really thinking more seriously about our Saturday morning project and so on. We're going to talk a little bit about overcoming procrastination, and then you know, we'll talk about where we're going from here. So this is again was the Ikigai. I haven't checked like since I don't know, earlier today, but not too many people had submitted the homework yet. But maybe people have by now. But either way, I want to actually you know, get into this whether you finished it or not. So just as a reminder, in case you weren't here last week or haven't had a chance to do this yet, what we're doing here is we're thinking about things that we love, what we're good at, what we can be paid for, and what the world needs. So last week during class, we brainstormed those things in a short period, and really this is the heart of last week's homework, right? Coming up with a good list here. If you come up with a good list here, then the rest of it is going to be easy, right? So what I want to do now, some of you, if you've already finished the homework, then this will be a really easy assignment. Let me open this. I'm going to share this in the chat. Copy. Chat. All right. So this is a communal Google Doc. Everyone is an editor. So that the fruit of last week's homework was supposed to be this Ikigai statement, okay? Like a one sentence, one very short paragraph statement about your idea of what your Ikigai is. So if you already finished the homework, you can go in and copy it straight from there. If you didn't, doing this is like critically important to doing the stuff we're doing today. Like it's hard to come up with a Saturday morning project without doing that first. So what I want to do is actually let you have a chance to do it right now if you haven't done it. Sorry, technology issues. All right. So this is the prompt for ChatGPT. If I'm sure some of you already did this. But essentially, what it says is, I want you to help me brainstorm 3 possible descriptions of what my Ikigai might be. I'm going to paste the things that I love, that I'm good at, that I can be paid for, and that the world needs. I want you to use this information to create 3 paragraph-length descriptions of 3 separate possible Ikigais that will help me build a deeply meaningful and satisfying career and life. I will paste the components of my Ikigai in the next prompt. Do you understand? Okay, so what that looks like, if you go in, you guys can you see my screen? What you're seeing?
Yeah, I could see the Ikigai slide.
All right, but can you see?
Yeah, I see the Google thing on top as well.
All right, so I just want to have a just ChatGPT window. So can you see the ChatGPT window? Or it's loading now. So if you guys have ChatGPT, you can go in and do this right now. Just copy and paste from the chat and put it into here. If you don't have ChatGPT, or you've never like registered for an account, I'm happy to do it. You would just have to give me your list of things you love and so on. So hopefully you've already done the brainstorming part. If you haven't, this is going to be a little bit challenging, but essentially you're doing things I love and then just listing them, things I'm good at. You really don't need to worry too much about formatting with ChatGPT. So here, let me paste that so you wouldn't have to type it. Where is the chat? So again, you just do the things I love. So for me, writing, storytelling, hiking, tennis, things I'm good at, some overlap. Um, So again, you guys should be doing this as we speak. And the main thing is once we finish this and you type it in there, it's going to come up with an ikigai statement. Again, if you already did this for homework, it's very easy. You can just paste it right into the thing, into that thing. Otherwise, try to do this right now. Like look back at your notes from last week if you have them, if you've been keeping good notes, just type those things in here. Otherwise, just try your best to do it right now on the spot, and let's see where we get. Any questions about what we're doing? Is it clear? Yes.
Yes.
I'm mainly just, this is because I know some people didn't get a chance to do the homework yet. I'm giving you a little bit of a chance because without that homework, it's hard to do the next thing. Okay, so I'm gonna give you about, let's say, 5 minutes to try to get this done. If you've already done it, you can take a quick break. But by the end of 5 minutes, I hope we can all have our ikigai statements in that document that's there in the chat, inshallah. All right. Timer, 5 minutes. Keep going with mine. I already did this. I'm just going to copy from here.
Wait, what are we copy and pasting in chat?
So you don't need, so in the chat, there's a Google link. It says docs.google. So
Yeah.
if you click on that, it should open.
The recording sheet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's where you paste it. You don't need to paste anything in the chat itself.
I bet.
Why is that not? There we go. Oh, I opened it like 7 times. Mashallah. Just gonna go back to trying to do that. Interesting. All right. Our 5 minutes are up. I'm gonna go over here and see where we are at. MashaAllah, we have a lot of different ones. No, not everyone is here today, but all right. So let's just read through them. Let's see what you came up with. So let's start with Sophia.
Okay, so I got 3 different like paths, like everyone got, so I chose this is the one that I chose. Do I
Mhm.
read it out?
Yep, please read it.
I would create a business that sources and sells sustainable non-fast fashion pieces that are both stylish and modest by focusing on timeless quality over quantity. I would address the need for eco-conscious wardrobe options that don't upcharge, making sustainable fashion accessible and desirable, educating consumers about the importance of sustainability in fashion and how to build a wardrobe that lasts, would keep your mind busy and fulfilled in the demand for knowledge in this space. By working hard to understand and grow your audience, and grow my audience, I would establish a trusted brand that people turn to for both products and wisdom on making ethical fashion choices.
MashaAllah. So a whole business around selling and educating people around sustainable fashion and you know avoiding fast fashion and all those things. MashaAllah. Beautiful vision. Omar, so why don't you choose one of these that you liked the best?
I like the first one the best.
Okay, let's go for it.
So it says, your love for debating, coupled with your proficiency in history and law, merges seamlessly with your desire to address societal issues. Your passion for politics and talking to people fuels your pursuit of justice. As a lawyer specializing in social justice causes, you advocate for marginalized communities and work towards policy changes that positively impact society. By using your legal expertise to tackle pressing issues like poverty and inequality, you not only find fulfillment in your career, but also contribute meaningfully towards the world's needs.
Beautiful, mashallah. And so, mashallah, with all your background in debate and everything, that's a very clear path. Nice. And it's interesting some of the other things that it came up with. I never heard of this one. Well, I guess yeah, entrepreneurial philanthropist. Yeah. So, where you start more of a business and so on, and then give back and support those causes that way. Who else? Let's see, who's this? Hamza. So the underlying one is your favorite?
Yeah, I picked the first one.
All right, go for it.
All right, so ChatGPT said a scientific advocate for health and understanding said your passion for science and dedication to combating disease align perfectly with what the world needs. Scientists dedicated to solving pressing health challenges. Leveraging your expertise in chemical engineering, you can contribute significantly to the field of medicine and research, potentially finding breakthroughs in disease prevention and treatment. Your ability to engage in debate and your interest about learning about Islam also equip you to bridge cultural and religious gaps in healthcare, fostering understanding and cooperation in diverse communities. By combining your scientific knowledge with the communication skills, you can advocate for health equity and progress, making a tangible difference in people's lives while finding fulfillment in my work.
MashaAllah. And that seems like something that could be interesting to you?
Good, yeah.
Yeah. So obviously, this is ChatGPT is good at that brainstorming side, but then you need to go in and put your own human touches on these ideas and really get them calibrated to exactly what you're thinking about. But I think it definitely helps with the brainstorming and blank page syndrome. I know Alia and Mujtaba. Alia is in Toronto. Mujtaba is also traveling. Zainab.
So ChatGPT said you have a deep love for exploring new places, advocating for medical equity, and promoting environmental awareness. Your strengths in writing, giving advice, and being empathetic/kind allows you to effectively communicate and inspire others. You can be paid for your expertise in healthcare professions, research projects, and environmental consulting. The world needs individuals like you who can bridge the gap between healthcare equity and environmental sustainability. Ikigai is about empowering communities through healthcare access, environmental stewardship, and inspiring positive change. So,
Mhm.
like, based off of that and like giving it other prompts as well, like I kind of like mixed up different things. I came up with this like statement. I'm committed to founding a nonprofit that merges my passions for volunteering, mentoring, mental health education, and humanitarian aid with my love for cultural exploration, peace building, and advocacy to foster global citizenship, cultural understanding, and social harmony.
MashaAllah, beautiful. Alhamdulillah. We got a lot of good specifics in there. That is one thing about ChatGPT. It tends to be a little bit on the sort of airy side, like philosophical side, and you want to get it as grounded as possible. Anissa.
So I kind of edited my thing that ChatGPT gave me. So
Mhm.
I said, I would like to start a journal of outdoor or wilderness short stories and and other forms of writing, like poetry and stuff, where I can include my own writing, but also include pieces written by others. And according to ChatGPT, I could also possibly develop programs that promote the benefits of nature for emotional well-being and create accessible resources that support individuals in their journey towards wellness.
Nice, alhamdulillah. Yep. That sounds good. Right? So I did it again this time, and I didn't actually paste it anywhere. Where is it? That's not it. Oh, it's right here. So I think I'd left some of the things out last time. I think I did it with the picture, and it came up with pretty much exactly the career I'm doing right now. This time it came up with some other ideas. I liked this one: outdoor educational retreats leader. Could develop and lead outdoor educational retreats that focus on personal growth and leadership for Muslim teenagers. These retreats would blend hiking and outdoor activities with workshops on ethical leadership, integrity, and Islamic teachings. Deep love for outdoors and hiking, combined with expertise in teaching. So that's sort of a cool idea, and it gives me ideas. Like I can do that within the umbrella of what I'm doing already. One of the reasons I want to do the FYQ live thing is because as much as online education opens up opportunities to have people from all over the country be together, it's really nice to actually be together, and like so many of you said, there's something very special about nature and whatnot. Okay, so those of you who weren't able to do this, let me see if anyone else posted. Okay, so if you haven't been able to do this yet, hopefully you can get caught up with that on your homework and so on, and so we can talk about it in the one-on-ones, and there we can sort of drill in and get a little bit more deep and so on. All right, so let's keep on going with the rest of the class. All right, so once you've developed that vision, right, and it's still a work in progress, right? Like, it's still something that you really need to think about, but you have a vision of where you might want to be in the future. Then one of the strategies you can use is to work backwards, right? So you think about where you'd like to end up, and then identify the most direct routes to get there. So if you envision, any of the things that you said, like, so let's take Sophia's, like the fashion brand and the sustainable fashion house. That's something that you're specifically envisioning, right? So then what's the fastest way to get there? So one obvious thing to do is ask people in the field how someone with your background can advance the most quickly. Okay, so the best thing you can do is find someone who's already gotten there, who's already traveled that path, and get advice from them about, the decisions they made that were important, the mistakes that they made, the shortcuts that they can have. So if I wanted to be in role X in 5 years, what would I need to do, right? Ask people who have already been there. That's the single best way to do this, which involves reaching out to people. Like Zainab mentioned last week that you were interested in some scientific research. You found people who specialized in that area, and then you reached out to them, got their contact on LinkedIn or whatever it was. And that's exactly how you move yourself forward. Attach yourself to the right people. So look for examples of people who have advanced unusually quickly and figure out how they did it, right? So if it's in the case of fashion brands, like do some research about people who have managed to build those brands really, really quickly, build those brands at a young age, right? Just do some searching, find their biographies and so on. Like there was some of my I mean, they weren't my classmates, but they were Harvard guys, founded this company called Bonobos, which is, I just saw it at the mall the other day. And you know, they had a really, really interesting story. Or like Untuck It is another brand, right? People, they realized like a lot of guys like to wear their shirts untucked, right? But the shirts aren't really designed to be worn untucked. So they just like came up with that kind of idea and just built it into this whole brand. So it's just interesting to see what other people have done, and you know, to get ideas and refine your ideas about how you might be able to do it. No substitute for getting personal advice on the best next steps for you from people who have already gotten there. And then another question to consider is how might I eliminate that option, right? So in other words, one thing when, especially when you're younger and so on, is there's so many different ideas. Maybe all three of those different ideas and many, many others appeal to you. So how can you figure out, like, so if it says you should be, you know, a lawyer, and it says, or you could be, I don't know, like, you know, some other way of, you know, helping marginalized people, it would make sense to try those two things out and see if you can definitively eliminate one of them, right? Because it's not always about just opening up more choices. You want to sometimes reduce the number of choices so that you can actually go forward in a particular way. Is there something you could do that would decisively tell you whether pursuing that longer term path made sense or not? Right? So that's really what you want to do. That's why in this first half of high school you want to try out a lot of different things, right? You want to, you know, because if you try something out and you hate it, then that's still very, very helpful information. And a lot of times you discover your passions, as we said before. It's not like they just like a light bulb goes off and you're like, I'm passionate about that. It's like, you know, you try out debate, you try out being in a play, you try out, you know, some new sport, right? And you discover these things by trying them, and that's how you discover your passions. So that's one technique, is working backwards. Then there's also the concept of working forwards, right? So look at the opportunities immediately in front of you, right? So you're in school, right? You know, you have your own specific family situation, friends of your family, other opportunities. Some of you live in big cities where there's tons of opportunities. Other people, you know, there are just certain activities that are right there. So take advantage of those. Follow your nose. And go with what's working, even if you're not sure where it'll eventually lead, right? So if you're involved in something and you're really enjoying it, but you have no idea whether it's leading you to some path to the, you know, to the future, if you're enjoying it and you're engaged and you're getting into that flow state, then just go with it and see where it leads you, right? Rather than trying to get caught up in like, you know, I need to get to this point and so on. Ask your parents, friends, and people you admire what opportunities they know about, right? So again, the importance of asking other people for help. Okay, so a lot of times like your parents can help, but also your parents' friends, the guidance counselor at your school, people like me, other sorts of mentors, and you know, and I can definitely connect you with other students who are a little bit beyond you. They're in college or they've just recently graduated from college, who I know have, you know, similar interests and are just a little further down that path, and actually talking to them and getting advice can be invaluable. Is there anything you're doing right now that's going better than expected? Could you spend more of your time on that? Again, similar to this one, following your nose. If there's something in your life that you're really enjoying, it's going really well, you know, how could you dig in on that, right? You want to become sort of pointy, right? You want to have, like, mashallah, with Omar, you have this debate thing, you're going to nationals, like that's very much like a very clear, you know, passion that you have. All right. So now we're getting into like the heart of this. What is a Saturday morning project? Right. So a Saturday morning project, also known as like a passion project, right? It's something that you'd be so excited about working on that you'd be willing to give up the most precious thing for most teenagers, which is sleep, right? You wake up early on a Saturday morning and actually, you know, get to work on this thing. So it's sort of like your side hustle for, is the way adults might term it, but it's something, you know, that you're really, really passionate about and genuinely interested in. It's beyond just a hobby, right? It's something that you can commit to long term, to building it out and making it the best thing you can be. It should be connected to your ikigai. It should be connected to that long-term vision that you have of what you're trying to do, right? You're trying to be able to create a story, a narrative, ultimately when you're applying to college and so on. And so you want the pieces to sort of fit together. So you want this thing that you're talking about to be aligned with what you've identified as your goals and so on. You want it to be connected to the real world, right? You want this to be something which is tangible. It can be touched. It can be, there's a website, or there's something you can actually see. It's not just an idea, it's something that you've actually done, that you've created, and that's accessible to the public in general, right? It's not just something very, very private. Generally, Saturday morning projects should have that wider accessibility. And then it should be self-initiated and managed, right? Something that you started, something that you're driving, you're managing, something that you have ownership over, you take accountability for, and so on. Obviously, some people might work with partners or other people on developing a project, but essentially it's not something driven by your parents or by me or by someone else who's telling you what to do. You need to take ownership and build this thing out. So why is this important in terms of college admissions, right? So more and more college admissions looks a lot like there's a lot of elements of marketing within the admissions world, right? And there's this whole idea of creating your own personal brand, right? So if you take, I can just take myself as an example, right? When I was trying to figure out what to do next, I'd sort of explored the teaching avenues as far as I wanted to go. I was looking at things to do, and I started to think, what could my personal brand be? What am I passionate about? Did all these same activities that I've had you guys do, and I realized that I was passionate about teaching. I was passionate about Islam. I was passionate about teenagers and helping give them sort of life purpose. And then expertise that one of the main expertise that I developed was around this college admission. So I created a personal brand that combines all of those things and started creating a lot of content and putting it out there and so on, and building my own niche where I can help people. So it's the same idea for you. You have to come up with sort of, what is your brand? What is that thing that you're sort of known for, that you can go for. So it should be authentic. It shouldn't be just something manufactured to look good. It should come from within yourself. There should be a story behind it, something that you can be consistent with, right? Consistency is so important, not something that you just do once, some activity. A lot of times what people put on their applications, it was like literally one weekend. Right, one weekend event for a few hours, and that becomes a college activity. Whereas, someone else has been doing something, for the course of 4 years. It's amazing what you can build if you stick with it, and so on. You want to be able to market it, to show what you've accomplished. So paper proof, right? Certificates, things that you've accomplished, or whatever the case might be. Social proof, knowledge-based proof. These are all just other people or other sources that can attest to what you've built, right? So you can have the website, you can have that, but if it's designed to actually help people, you can have testimonials of people that it actually helped, right? You can have maybe you'll get some press, like there'll be articles written about you. That certainly happened with some people in the past. There are ways to prove this and to add to that story. And then obviously the goal is admission, right? You want to be able to write about this and talk about this in your college application, and in the rec letters that get written about you, that really emphasize what you've accomplished and how it stands out from the pack, and so on, right? So the goal is to become a category of one, right? This is a common phrase that I don't know that you've necessarily heard of it, But the idea is like most people, they compete with other people, right? They're just in a competition with others. But this is Peter Thiel, who's a famous entrepreneur. He said competition is for losers, right? Competition is for losers. You don't want to compete with other people on doing the same thing or something very similar to what they're doing. You want to become a category of one, right? You want to be different. You want to do what you love. You want to be the best at that, and you want it to be fun, right? So there, as far as I know, I've never met another person quite like me who's doing exactly what I am, helping Muslims with the college application process in a way that's very sort of Islam first, right? There are some other people that sort of, help Muslims, but they don't necessarily have as much of the religious components to it. So in that sense, there's no one really out there. I'm not competing with other people. I'm just being myself, and no one can compete with you on being yourself. So your uniqueness quotient is your value proposition. So the closer that your Saturday morning project is aligned to your ikigai and to who you are specifically and what you really care about, right? The more that they're not going to see anyone else who's done something like that. So why now? Why is it important to start this now, right? If you start this now, so some of you are in 8th grade, some of you are in 9th grade, and 10th grade, and even the 11th graders, if you haven't started something like this. But if you start now, over time, this is where it can go. Oftentimes it starts really slowly. If you wait and you say, I'm gonna just put this off, or I know I need to do this, but I still have plenty of time and so on, you're just not going to be able to create the same level of thing. I can't tell you how many people, one of the reasons I founded 5 before college, right, and start with people as early as 8th grade, right, is because then you have time to build this whole thing. If you start working with someone comes to me like the summer of their senior year, right, and they haven't really done anything. They don't have any of this category of one. They don't have an asset that sets them apart. There's very little time to do anything, right? There's very little time to like recover. You can't go back in time and change the past. So you really want to start this now. You start small, and it's something that you just keep on working at, and it will become, inshallah, something really big, right? And then the other thing is getting started, right? Like the whole purpose of this and what we're really going to focus on once we've really nailed what your Saturday morning project is actually getting it going, right? Actually getting it off the ground during the remaining weeks of this class. So it's at least something that's been started, right? And a lot of times people are paralyzed by that. Let's say they want to create a podcast, or they want to create a small business or something, and they don't know because they're looking at the whole big picture. They think they need everything in order to get started, right? But the truth is, it is good to have an idea. We just spent 5 weeks coming up with ideas and brainstorming ideas, and we're doing more of that today, right? But then after that, you just get started, right? You just get started. Like I didn't know very much about starting a business, right? But I started reading about it. I got excited about it, and I started practicing, right? And where I am now will look very different, inshallah, than where I am a year from now, where I am 5 years from now, right? And so on. But you just get started and you get moving, and you'll keep on learning. And then some things you never really figure out, right? And that's really okay. So I just wanted to take a little moment here. This was a really cool video that I saw that came through that I found to be pretty profound. And I'd love for you guys, as we listen to this, just try to note 3 things that you take away from this. I think you will enjoy this, inshallah. Do I need to? You said last time I wasn't sharing my sound, so let me make sure I'm doing that. Share sound, optimize for video clip. All right, this one now.
Did you know that a tree has to grow in 2 directions at the same time?
Is it working?
Yeah.
You can hear it? Okay, so let's start again.
Did you know that a tree has to grow in 2 directions at the same time? Did you know that?
A tree has to grow in two
It's
directions.
always growing in two directions at the same time. It's growing down and it's growing up. And what's interesting, if you could see the part of the tree that's under the ground, it looks very similar to the part of the tree that's above the ground. The root system is very similar to the fruit
That's
system.
crazy. I never thought about that.
See what's happening? Look at right, exactly. Look what's happening to your face right now.
I've seen millions of trees in my life.
Right. And so something as common as a tree, but watch this. Here's what's interesting about a tree. The nature of a tree is that it is both gravitropic and phototropic. Now, you've never probably heard, maybe, have you ever heard of the word gravitropic before? Phototropic?
Never.
Okay. So gravitropic means it grows away from light and towards gravity. That's the root system. It's gravitropic in nature. So the seed goes in the ground, and then the tree starts growing down before it starts growing up. Now, here's what's interesting. When the seed is under the ground, it's dark under the ground, it's damp, and it has resistance. The root system has resistance. It has to push through the dirt to go down further, right? Well, once it breaks through the earth growing up, there's no more resistance. And the part of the tree that's above the earth grows towards light and away from gravity. So the tree is growing in two directions at the same time. Now, okay, how does that help me in my life, though? That sounds really cool, right? Well, that is one of the most beautiful pictures of the way life works that you've ever seen, that I've ever seen. How? It's the work that you do in the dark when it's difficult and damp that makes the work that you do that everybody sees in the light work. Nobody saw you. Everybody sees you now in this beautiful studio, on this podcast, on Instagram Live, on YouTube, on whatever. Everybody can see that. Oh my goodness, David Shands. But they didn't see the gravitropic nature of your journey while you were on your way here, working deep into the wee hours of the morning to become the person. That's the root system. Now, everybody proclaims and professes to desire the fruit system. Everybody wants to grow up towards, just reach for the stars, and I want everybody to see how tall I can be and how sweet my fruit is and blah, blah, blah. Well, that sounds great. But if you're unwilling to go down, you cannot go up.
All right. So what were some of your takeaways from that beautiful analogy? What were some of the main things that he was saying?
It's the work that you do in the dark that allows you to become like recognized.
Yep, the work you do in the dark. How is that connected to the trees? What was the specific like organic metaphor he used?
They grow in two directions. Like they start out in the damp, dark earth, and then they grow up towards the light where everyone can see them.
Right. And when the seed is planted, right? And I'm sure you guys have done this in science class, or you just know how trees work, right? Before you actually see it sprout above, right? The roots are going down. And what he's saying is that the roots going down, that gravitropic force, that's a lot harder, right? Because they're facing resistance. They're in the earth, the dirt, and so on. And that's when things are really, really difficult, right? To break down and to put those roots down, right? But eventually, once those roots get strong enough, that's when, the tree starts, the other half of the tree, the phototropic one, the one that's growing towards the light, starts to come up. And you don't face that same resistance, when you're growing up. Any other ideas that people took from that?
One thing I thought about was like how a lot of people can be in the same place, but the way that they got there is like different.
Mm-hmm.
It all depends on like how you get there, which is similar to what was said, but
Yeah, definitely. Right? And like you said, like we always see the fruits, right? We see the fruit system. We don't always see the root system. We don't know what it took for people to get there. And a lot of times the people who have faced the biggest hardship and the people who have, sometimes the hardest situations, whether it's a health situation or family situation, tragedies that have happened, right? Those are the people who actually develop this incredible strength and this incredible ability to live beyond themselves, right? But a lot of people just don't really put the roots in. They don't put that time in the dark and so on to try to build to what they are, right? A lot of people want the get rich quick scheme. They want that fruit without the roots, right? There's another study that there were trees that were grown in a greenhouse, right? So in this artificial condition of the greenhouse, and then they'll actually grow so tall that they actually collapse under their own weight, right? Whereas trees that grow in areas with heavy winds, right, they tend to be much more resilient, right? They grew up in that hardship of the wind blowing them back and forth, and they don't blow over, right? They're used to being struck by the wind, right? And that's why hardship is what builds character and so on. Anyway, so how does this?
Did you know?
Let's keep going. So just a few things. This we pretty much covered all of that. But there's a beautiful hikam of someone named Ibn Ata'illah, who was a brilliant sage, and he wrote these very sort of short aphorisms and so on. He said, "Bury your existence in the earth of obscurity, for whatever sprouts forth without having first been buried flowers imperfectly." Bury your existence in the earth of obscurity. So in other words, before we can become these big, well-known, magic of thinking big celebrity types, we need to do the work. We need to be, put our roots down, right? For whatever sprouts forth without having first been buried, okay, whatever comes up, sometimes, things just happen really quickly. They flower imperfectly. If you look at a lot of pop stars, right, who have like incredible success at a young age, a lot of times their lives get really, really messed up, right? And they're like cautionary tales and so on. And they get addicted to drugs and they just, have all sorts of problems, right? Whereas the people who toil and work on themselves and so on, when they finally sprout forth and they go towards the sun, they really can accomplish things, right? So all of this is connected to the Saturday morning project in the sense that like it can be frustrating when you're first starting something, right? You're not necessarily going to see the fruits, right? Because you're putting down the roots. If you're starting a big project, right? And so on, right? It's going to be difficult because most people are impatient and they want to see results very, very quickly. But it doesn't always happen. And that causes people to procrastinate, right? That causes people to put off starting, right? And why do you procrastinate, right? You assume that it's just out of laziness that you're procrastinating, right? But there's usually much more to it. It's out of fear. It's out of not knowing where to start. It's out of this perfectionism, wanting to get it totally right. It's being stretched too thin, feeling inadequate, right? And that's where having someone like a coach like me can help, right? To help you work past those things as you try to get these off the ground. All right, so let's get into specifics. I'm going to skip this slide because make sure we have enough time. So these are examples of some successful Saturday morning projects. Some of them are real things that some of my former students have worked on or other people that I know, and others are, just ideas. So podcast. So you could start a podcast. So a few years ago during the pandemic, some of the students at Al Noor, they started a podcast called Youth Upon the Truth. And so pretty much every Friday, they actually did it sort of live, but then they also released it in podcast form. They would, tell stories of Sahaba. They would, do interviews with, with kids who were, practicing Islam and so on. And their goal was to inspire Muslim youth. So they started a podcast. Newsletter, that's something that I do, right? Every Friday, I publish this 5 before 5 newsletter. And the purpose of that, becoming a thought leader, and, largely because I'm really into obviously Islam, but also into sort of Western ideas. And I listen to a lot of podcasts of my own, and I try to merge those two things together. you know, in a way that you know, it lets me explore my ideas and helps me build a tribe of people who are attracted to that kind of thing. You could start a YouTube channel, right? I think my son's favorite YouTuber is Nick, what's his name? Di Giovanni, Nick. Anyway, he you
Oh
know,
yeah.
he started a YouTube channel and now he's huge, right? We just went on Friday night, we went into Boston to Gordon Ramsay's restaurant. Gordon Ramsay was the mentor of Nick, and it's just it's cool. He's built a whole empire. He has cookbooks and so on. So you could do something around like halal cooking or around your culture, you know, cultural cooking or your grandmother's kitchen or something like that, right? Or there's a million other things you could do with YouTube. You could start a small business. This is something I want to do with my son. Actually, for Eid, we got a big dehydrator because I love beef jerky, but I only eat zabiha and halal, so it's very hard to get and it's quite expensive if you order it and so on. So I said, why don't we make it ourselves? But you know, if we get good at it and we develop a good recipe, that's actually something you could make money, and so on. So it'd be it's a fun way for me to spend time with my son, but also could become his, you know, Saturday morning project if he gets really into this and then figures out how to market it and so on. You could start an NGO, right? This is another idea I have. Those little free libraries are really cool things that, you know, they look sort of like birdhouses and they have books in them and so on. You could start like a little free Islamic library, right? Where you have, you know, in some place as a form of dawah and so on, you put really interesting books about Islam in there, or you know, or something like that. Political activism, right? There are students at Al Noor right now who are, you know, Palestinian, and that's like they eat and breathe and you know, the stuff. They're out there leading political rallies. They're getting signatures for Congress. They're developing, you know, door knocking campaigns to try to advocate for this. So if that's your thing and social justice is your thing, you could do something like that. Community service, right? There was a girl who, you know, she was trying to figure out what her project could be, and she said, you know, there were two things that she cared a lot about. One was makeup, right? And she just loved makeup. And then the other thing was, she was very close with her grandmother, who she used to always visit at the nursing home. And so she came up with this idea of like, why don't I, you know, do makeup for the elderly people at the nursing home? And so she started this, you know, project of going there on the weekends, and these older women, right, who haven't done this for years, they were getting all this makeup and they were having so much fun and so on. It got a lot of press, right? The press got wind of this and they thought it was a really cool project that was you know, making people feel good, and so it aligned with her values and so on. There's a student that I'm working with this year, right? And she's been around lots of different births. She has a huge family and so on, and she's been exposed to lots of different births. She also knows that issues around feminine hygiene are a real taboo within the Muslim community. So she organized something at the Islamic school to get like a pad dispenser, which they never had in the bathroom, and she does lots of education of the Muslim girls around those kinds of issues, and it's something that she really advocates for. Her whole college essay was about this and so on, right? So again, figuring out a project. These are just some examples just to get your thoughts going. There's really 5 different types of Saturday morning projects. They can be community and social impact, right? They could be more in the realm of entrepreneurship and business, right? They could be in field more creative and artistic, science and technology, or health and wellness. And there are probably some other things, but those are some of the big picture buckets. And so, you know, try to think about this and try to think about what you're drawn towards yourself. Right? And so this is what we're gonna do for the last 15 minutes of class or so. You've been hearing you know, these things. You've seen you know, some specific ideas of things they could be: podcasts, newsletters, YouTube channels, etc. So now what you want to do is you want to create this mind map template. right? So I'm going to give you this in a moment, like a link to this document that looks just like this. And essentially what you want to do is you want to put the main idea over here, right? And then over here, you think of different mediums, like whether it's a podcast or a newsletter or some other idea that you might have, and then specific ideas. So, for example, this is what one looks like, right? So the big idea here, the thing that you looked at your mind map and you decided like halal food was your thing. You're a halal foodie. That's something you're totally passionate about, right? And then you brainstorm. In this case, we did 6 different things, right? So it could possibly be a podcast. It could be a YouTube channel. What would that look like? A blog, some sort of a community, a live event, small business, or maybe something around technology, app development, or something, right? And then what could the podcast be called? Okay, the Halal Eats Chronicles, right? Cooking halal, something like that. A blog, you could write about, going to all the different halal restaurants and in your town, or like, 30 halal restaurants in 30 days, something like that, right? Community event, right? You could have like, you could organize, a big event. And none of these aren't like you only have to do one. You could merge more than one of these. Small business, right? This is sort of like that thing I was talking about with my son, like you create a beef jerky thing. Or app development, right? So I actually have a friend, do you guys know the app zabiha.com? It's like it's a good app for finding halal food in your area, but it's pretty old. It was like it's been around for a very, very long time. They're doing a huge rebranding now, and they're trying to turn it into like an Uber Eats, like a halal version of Uber Eats, where you can get halal food delivered to you and so on. So they don't call it Zabiha Eats. I came up with that name, but that's sort of like a really cool idea. A little hard to pull off as a high schooler, but something you could definitely work on and think about. And who knows? I mean, a lot of young people do that. All right. So what I want to do is the homework is going to be to create 3 of these. So 3 of these different mind maps with different ideas. Let me just go over that. And then choose one of those specific ideas and just write a paragraph explaining what you might want to do for your Saturday morning project. So that by the time we meet in 2 weeks, you really have something very tangible that you have that we can talk about during the one-on-ones and that you can get working on. So what I want to do for now is
When you say write a paragraph, do you mean like we actually write it or like a chat GTP?
I
Like,
mean, you could use ChatGPT to get inspired, but I would say, ultimately you're doing all the mind mapping and brainstorming to just get ideas out there on a paper, and that's a really important point. Like, don't dismiss anything that comes up. If it comes up, just put it down on the piece of paper. You have plenty of space. You can do as many of these as you want. Why is this not opening? Sorry, let me just make sure to share this in the chat so you can get started on this. But when you're in the ideation phase, when you're coming up with ideas, you just want to like just go with it. Whatever comes to your mind and so on of possible things. Don't say, oh, this is impossible. I don't know how this could possibly work and so on. All right, copy link. So this is going to be an uneditable document. So all you do is as soon as you open it, you go to File, and then make a copy, right? An entire presentation. I'm going to put that sample one in here. I realized that would be probably helpful. Sample mind map. Please work. Oh, it's view only. Of course, because I created this in a different thing. No, that's not it. That's Ikigai recording sheet. Where did I put that thing? This. All right. Oh no, what did I just do? Why is it pasting over it? Okay. All right. So essentially you want to do that. You're going to come up with some sort of big picture here. I'm just doing this quickly now so you get a little chance to do it. Like this is going to take a little bit more time for you to get it right, but I think if we just practice it now, it will make the homework a little bit easier. And sometimes just thinking about things quickly is the best way to get the ideas out. I wish we were in person and I could just like break you into groups and then walk around and so on and look. But in any case, try to work on this, and I'm going to set a timer for about, let's say 5 minutes, and then I want to see where you're at that point. And that will almost be done. Timer 5 minutes. Be right back. All right, I'm back. Whoa, what's going on? All right, so another, sorry, there on the timer, about halfway there. Anyone have any questions as they're doing this? Everyone on the right track? I can't minimize. Share screen. Oh, my Zoom is acting up. Hmm. Oh. All right, one more minute. for your brainstorming. That you will be partway done with the homework. Into this. All right. So we only have a minute or two left. Is there someone who is willing to share their brainstorm? Just share their screen. Who is brave? Bismillah, someone, please. How about, I don't know. Anissa, did you do it?
I didn't finish. I did like only a
I want to get a sense of what you did, just to give a little bit of feedback, just to make sure people are on the right track. So
I didn't come up with any names or anything.
That's
I just
fine.
had four. Okay.
You're able to share?
Yeah, give me a second.
Okay, nice. Spreading nature and well-being. Nice. Creative wildlife journal, travel journal, group session. What's a group slash
Like
session?
I was thinking like a group that would like create a group that would like meet at some point or whatever
Mhm.
and do things. I don't know.
Nice. Yep, a blog. Excellent. Nice. So this is on the right track. Anyone else willing to share? One more person? How did it go for you, Hamza, Salim?
I'm gonna be real. I'm still thinking about it. I'm confused. The thoughts are not running through my head. I need more time on it.
Okay. Are you confused about what you want to do, or confused about the project itself?
Confused on what I want to do.
Okay.
Definitely, I'm good. It's narrowed down. It has to be in science. Definitely in science.
Yep.
So we're gonna start from there.
That's totally okay. How about you, Sophia?
I was more so thinking, honestly, I kind of got caught up in the name, like the first thing, but other than that, I thought of like two or so things that I could put in the boxes,
Mhm.
but I'm still kind of iffy on them, so I think I have to like think, like
Okay.
actually.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, 5 minutes is not a lot of time, but this is an important step, right? Like, I want for you guys to get the full benefit out of this class, like really zeroing in on a Saturday morning project that you're genuinely excited about and that you can genuinely get off the ground and really get started while we're still together, is like I'm trying to tell you this from the perspective of someone who's placed hundreds and hundreds of people in college. When you have something like this, it makes all the difference in the world, right? And so, but don't get caught up in trying to get it perfect right now, right? It's design thinking. Like, you don't need to get the perfect idea right now. You just need to get started, right? You need to get started with the brainstorming and getting ideas out there, right? And we're going to keep on working on refining those ideas, right? And also, you keep on changing as you go, right? You just get started and you see what's working, what's not working, what you're interested in, and so on. and you keep on going forward. So try not to put pressure on yourselves to get this perfect. At the same time, try not to like fall behind and not get this done and so on, because otherwise you just don't get the full benefit of all the work we've been doing. Look back at all the other stuff. Look back at your 51 list for inspiration. Look back at your your moonshot du'as. Look back at your ikigai and so on, and use all the work that we've done so far in order to inform this, right? These things are not disconnected from each other. They're all, it's supposed to be a narrative arc of where we are, right? Where we want to go, and then work backwards to, what are we going to do now in high school to try to make it happen? Okay, so that's it for today, inshallah. Hope you guys have scheduled your one-on-ones. I will get the recording and all these slides out to you by tomorrow, inshallah. And then we don't have class next Sunday, but we do have the workshop, career workshop on Wednesday. So really try to make a big effort to be there for that, inshallah. Jazakallah khair, everyone. It was wonderful to have you, and assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.